Hello, and welcome to the Passion Driven Pioneers interview series. I'm your host, John Channon, and today I'm joined by Dale Wills, who is the owner and founder of Centra Companies. Dale is a real estate development and investment expert, and thank you so much for joining us today, Dale.
John, thanks for having me.
Yeah, so would you like to get us started with a brief background as to who you are, what you do, and the business that you're in?
Yeah, I'm live in Minneapolis. We've been here 18 years. We've been married for I'd have to do the math, 31 years. I know the year we were married, just don't know the years. We have 6 kids. We've got 3 grandkids. They're all over the country as they move out. They don't want to stay here close, I guess. And we have a development, construction, real estate equity firm, kind of everything that's related to real estate, building buildings, redeveloping, raising capital to invest in those. And I've been involved. I've been an entrepreneur since I was 7 years old, is when I started my first business, and have owned or started businesses really my entire life. And I just love changing and creating things.
Well, that's great. So what was the spark that led you to start this type of business? If you've been kind of an entrepreneur in some different areas, talk to us a little bit about that.
I love having an impact for good. We owned 3 RadioShack franchises at one point, and one of them was the largest franchise in the world. And it was challenging and it was fun, but there was a lack of satisfaction. Anybody that's older and have been to a Radio Shack, there's nothing you need in a Radio Shack. It's a lot of cool gadgets, a lot of cool things, but there's nothing there that you really need. And and so from that standpoint, there wasn't a lot of satisfaction. And before that, I had been in real estate. And so I was drawn back because you're really making a difference. I like the analogy of, you think about it, good or bad, most of your formidable memories of your childhood was in the home you grew up in or the neighborhood. And my hope is that for most of us, we have some really positive memories. But that's where you learned how to ride a bike. That's where you learned to throw a ball. That's where you had dinner around the table with your family. That's where you created these great memories. And what I love about what we do is we're creating the environment for that. We're building the homes, we're building the neighborhoods, we're building the apartment complexes, the shopping centers that are creating and facilitating those memories and changing lives. And so I just love it because we can look back and say, yeah, we had something to do with that.
Well, that's great. So talk to us a little bit about, because you've been a serial entrepreneur, what are some of the common misconceptions about running a business that you see out there?
I would say the biggest one is the amount of time it takes. Everybody assumes if you're self-employed, you must be incredibly busy. I deal with it today. I own several businesses, very involved in my church community, very involved with my family, my businesses. And I will have friends that will say, hey, would you like to, or could you? And they'll follow it up with, and I know you're really busy. And I get that all the time. It's like, well, I'm not really that busy. We can choose to be busy. I know plenty of entrepreneurs that work 16-hour days and work themselves to death, and they're miserable doing it because they don't know anything else. And I think that's probably the biggest misconception. There's a quote by, of all people, Winnie the Pooh, that I love. And Winnie the Pooh says, doing nothing often leads to the very best of something. And I find that's true. When I'm doing nothing is when I come up with my greatest ideas. My greatest breakthroughs come when I'm not over programmed. And so I feel like that's probably the biggest misconception, is just that you have to be really busy to be successful.
So are there any techniques you use to kind of address that, not being as busy yet owning several businesses?
It really has taken discipline and reinforcing that. Because I can say there's a time that I did work ridiculous long hours because I also believe that to be true. If I'm going to be successful, I have to work really long hours. And I think the philosophy for me has changed just through discipline of doing it over and over and over and reflecting. I try to do a little bit of journaling. I don't write long journals, it's bullet points. but I can go back and look at that and I see the greatest breakthroughs are when I wasn't overprogrammed. And so if I notice that, I just have to keep reminding myself when I want to get caught back into old habits of working really long hours. And so it's just that reinforcing and then being around other people, reading other literature of people that have similar philosophies.
Yeah, I know some of my best thinking I do is when I'm cutting the grass out of my lawnmower.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm part of a group that they always like to talk about. If you can pay somebody to do something for, a fraction of what you get paid to do what you do, why would you not hire that out? And they use grass mowing a lot. Well, I own a cattle ranch and I love working on the farm. I love mowing the grass because that's where I do my greatest thinking. And so it's like, yes, I can afford to pay somebody to mow that grass, but sometimes I want to do it because that's where I get my brilliance.
Yeah, I know. It's where I do a lot of my thinking is on the tractor, on the lawnmower
Yeah,
in the yard.
exactly.
But it works great because that's solitude, right? And it gives you that time to reflect. And, it doesn't take a whole lot of mental capacity to cut your grass, although sometimes you got to be aware of some things.
I think you add to that, it's the distractions.
Yeah.
We all have cell phones, and how easy is it when I have downtime to get on the cell phone and I'm mindlessly looking at things? LinkedIn, I love LinkedIn as an example, and it's a great tool. I make lots of good connections and learn new things. But there's a balance between now I'm learning new things and making good connections and I'm wasting time.
That's a good example. So I
So
appreciate you
when
sharing that.
I'm on a tractor or I'm mowing, I can't look at my phone.
Nope.
Now my thoughts have my undivided attention.
Yeah, that's great. So let's talk about the constantly evolving business landscape, right? How do you stay adaptable and open to change? And then is there anything that you do or your company does to remain innovative in your industry?
It's interesting. We're in real estate. And in my lifetime in business, we've seen multiple massive shifts in real estate. And right now, we're going through a period of time of this recording that a lot of people are really scared. They're worried about what's coming and they're sitting on the sidelines waiting to do anything. I am a big believer in all industries, there's opportunities all of the time. It's are we looking for those opportunities? Real estate, the market crashes in '08 and people are losing everything in the subsequent years for 4 or 5 years. It's just a disaster. I made some of our greatest income wealth building happen for us in that time period, working with banks, working through their distressed assets. And I believe that's true with every industry, that you can find an opportunity no matter what's going on, but you have to be looking for it. Um, my wife and I lived in Las Vegas for 2 years and we hated it. We hated everything about it. And we've lived in California, we've lived in Nevada, we've lived in Utah, Minnesota. The lesson I learned from being in Las Vegas is we found exactly what we were looking for. All the things we disliked about Las Vegas, we focused on. Thus, we decided to hate it. We didn't focus on, we really love hiking and there's great hiking opportunities. We love lake recreation. There's great lakes that you can go. We didn't focus on that. We focused on what we hated. And the business lesson I've learned is you're going to find what you look for in life. And so, if right now in real estate, you're seeing interest rates are high, costs of real estate is at all time high, I can't make it work. That's exactly what you're finding. You're going to find everything doesn't work. But if I have a belief system, there's opportunities, I'm going to find that. I love living in Minnesota. I love living in California. I love living in Utah because we found reasons to love it. And the same principle applies to business. You will find what you're looking for. If you're looking for opportunities, they will eventually present themselves. But if you're looking for reasons to not do deals, you're going to find lots of those too.
Yeah, they often say mindset is one of the most powerful things you have in business.
Yes.
So that's good. I'm going to ask you my magic wand question. So if you could wave a magic wand and change one thing about your business, what would that be?
Do what I'm doing now earlier.
That's good.
I use an example. It's really an embarrassing story. I hate telling, but we went from having the largest RadioShack franchise in the world in the late '90s to having to file personal bankruptcy. And, we had the attack on the World Trade Center, and that just decimated our business. And we couldn't recover from it. And I look back at that and I go, that's embarrassing. I don't like telling people about it. And it's hard to think about it. However, the experiences I got from that are invaluable today because it taught me so many lessons. It taught me the language of business is accounting. And if you don't understand the language of business, how can you succeed if you don't understand? You don't need to be an accountant, but you need to understand how to read a balance statement, how to read an income statement, how to do those things. And I learned that, came from that. I learned a lot of really good business principles. So I look back and go, I don't want to take that experience away. I don't wish filing personal bankruptcy on anybody, but I don't want to take that experience away because of what I learned. And we own some really profitable, powerful businesses today, in part because of those tough experiences. And so really the only thing I would change is there's things that I wish I was doing earlier, but it's, the analogy we all hear of planting a tree. When's the best time to plant a tree? It's 20 years ago. When's the next best time to plant a tree? It's today. And so, yeah, there's things I wish I was started 10 years ago, 20 years ago, but you know what? Let's do it today. So I'm not saying that 20 years from now.
That's good advice. So, would you talk to us a little bit about what the future plans and goals you have for your business are?
Yeah, our mission as a company is we improve everything we touch. And so whether that's the people I'm working with are better as a result of working here, whether it's my cattle ranch is in better condition, whether it's we're improving neighborhoods, whatever it is, we want to improve everything we touch, whether it's we're helping other people improve their wealth. And we started 8 months ago, we started Centra Capital Partners. And that stemmed from trying to help our employees build more wealth. And then it just morphed into what it is today. And now anybody can build wealth with us. And so we're really excited about that because we're going to take that. We were really good at what we do in real estate. And so we're going to start doing that more nationwide. We do a little bit outside of Minnesota, but we're going to start doing more and allow people to co-invest with us and help more people build wealth right along what we're doing. And that's the thing we're most excited about right now.
Say a little bit more about this Centra Capital Partners program. You said co-invest, right? So maybe tell our audience a little bit more about that business model.
Yeah, it started a couple of years ago. We allow all of our employees can buy a house at cost. And the idea is, John, buy this house at cost, turn it into a rental. And if you do that every year, what are you going to have in wealth in 10, 20 years from now? You're going to have a pretty good nest egg built. And so we encourage our employees to take advantage of this. One of our employees does this regularly. And I was talking to him and I was really concerned. There's a lot of programs that Congress has put into place to incentivize us to invest in real estate. And as a result, it minimized my tax impact. But that's because I'm self-employed. Whereas if you're an employee, you don't get those same advantages. And that really bothered me. How do I help my team members build wealth at the same rate that I am? And ultimately, Centra Capital Partners came about. And so what it is we allow, it started, we were trying to help our employees and create ways that they can build wealth. But now it's anybody that wants to invest with us. So any real estate project we're doing, we allow people to co-invest with us as owners in effect. And so you could say, hey, I've got this money. I want to invest with you. So it might be a for sale housing subdivision. It might be an apartment complex, whatever it is. You invest your money right alongside of us. And now it gives you the ability that you want to be in real estate, great, but you don't want to deal with the cockroaches. You don't want to deal with the meth lab. You don't want to deal with the furnace that broke down, all of those things that are potential risks. Leave it to the experts that know how to deal with that. You get to co-invest, but you're now in real estate. You can physically go in your car and go look at what you're invested in. And what I love about that is, I can have some Tesla stock, but I'm pretty sure Elon's not going to let me walk into the plant and look at the cars being made. And nor should he. But you want to invest in real estate and get in your car and go physically look at the project that you're invested in, do it. And I think that's pretty exciting proposition. And so, we allow our employees to do it, but it's like, how can we let others? And that's where this came about. And we're having a lot of fun with it.
That sounds really interesting. So that's a unique business model, and hopefully the idea was born on the tractor when you were out cutting the grass.
Yeah, and it really was. I can tell you we are where we are today because of time that I had nothing going on. Doing nothing often leads to the very best of something, as Winnie the Pooh says.
That's great. So knowing that this show, right, is targeted towards people who might be in their first few years of business or maybe just getting started in business, do you have any final thoughts or words of advice you'd like to share with our audience today?
Be a consumer of information. You just consume as much as you can. This podcast is a perfect example. You're listening to this podcast, you're learning something new. And the more perspectives you get, the easier it is for you to formulate what works best for you. I read 50 to 60 books a year. I listen to a lot of podcasts. I go to lots of continuing education seminars. Invest in yourself. There's most of us believe the theory of you become the average of your 5 closest friends. Well, think about where do you want to be 20 years from now? And then tell me, how many friends do you have that are there? And if you give me the answer of one or more, I would say your dreams aren't big enough, because we're talking about your 5 closest friends. And so how do you do that? How do you create a peer group that's going to help you get to where you want to be? We all have the person when we're starting up in business that says, "Oh, that's a dumb idea," or "Why are you doing that?" or "That won't work." I don't want to give up my friends and family, but I also don't want to talk to them about business because I don't want that in my life. I don't want the negativity. I don't want the "you can'ts" in my life. And so how do I replace that? I replace that with going to seminars. I replace that with listening to books. I replace that with podcasts. If you're early on and you can't afford some of these things, this is beautiful. This podcast didn't cost you a dime to listen to. So listen to more of these podcasts. You can get apps on your phone that you can rent books for free from the local library. So you can be flat broke and continue your education. And then as you have more money, then start reinvesting yourself. Join organizations with big thinkers, and invest in that. And that's, I think, the most important thing is you've got to invest in yourself and do the best you can. Surround yourself with people that are your cheerleaders.
Yeah, it's almost like having a mastermind group, but they're also your friends, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Perfect. Perfect. Listen, thank you so much for your time today, Dale.
John, thanks for having me. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was great meeting you and learning more about your entrepreneurial journey. And you can learn more about Dale and Centra Capital Partners by visiting his website at www.centracapitalpartners.com. And to everyone watching, I look forward to seeing you in our next episode.